Hi, so we're back again. And I know that I've talked about this last season, but I want to reiterate it now. And that is, as we sit today or as we talk today, there's one thing that's very important that I can't get away from, like telling you about or when it comes to recovery. And that's how I think of the mind. And so, the mind is what I would term as a sense organ. So you have your eyes, your ears, your nose, your mouth, your skin, and you also have your mind. And your mind takes in all of the data from your ears, your nose, your eyes, your mouth, and your skin, organizes it, coordinates it. It reflects on the past and spits out a hypothesis about the future. That hypothesis is never 100% correct. It's only an approximation. We can never get it 100% correct. And really, recovery or mental health is all about being as close to reality as possible. And because the mind can never be completely aligned with reality, but become pretty close to it, we strive for perfection and understand that we'll never get there, and that's okay. That's part of the human condition. So we have this mind that creates these thoughts, and those thoughts coalesce into beliefs, and those beliefs they manifest into behaviors, and behaviors are practiced into habits, and habits become our destiny. And so that's how we think about addiction, right? Is you had these emotions, you had certain causes and conditions that led your mind to believe that you had to divorce yourself from those emotions. So you started to behave in ways that would numb you to the emotions. Those behaviors were practiced and became habits. And those habits, right, manifested your destiny or manifested a life that was centered in getting whatever the drug of choice is that you had, or whatever the addiction behavior was of choice that you had. And you practice that and habitualize that until it became an unconscious programmed reaction to your environment. And then your environment changed, but your addicted mind didn't. And that is what we have to work with to gain recovery. We have to change the way we relate to what our mind tells us we need to do, or what our mind leads us to believe. And so that means that we have to stop trusting our mind and start trusting something else. And at the beginning, we have to trust someone else whose mind is more attuned to reality than ours. And that's really why you cannot recover in isolation. You have to be able to recover in connection with other people. And so this is a very important concept because it's the foundational concept of everything else. And waking up to your mind isn't something that happens overnight. It's something that's practiced. And the only way it's practiced is through mindfulness activities. And so that is something that we'll do in our next episode. Is we'll do some mindfulness activities. And for me, when I was working on waking up to my mind, I spent years in stubbornness and in arrogance, thinking that I had the answers, thinking that I knew better than all the people around me who had been, in recovery for so long. And that's just was not the case. And obviously in my last episode, I told you I ended up in the ICU unit. That's how far it had to go before I was prepared to accept that my mind didn't know what was best for me. And when I was in Texas, my sister threw me out of her house, and I can remember being in a hotel room on the phone with my friend Jose, asking him to come from California to pick me up. That's one thing I do remember. And I remember I was crying, and he said that he would come, but that's all I remember. Like, I don't remember getting my stuff or my dog. I don't remember the trip home. which is heartbreaking. I don't remember what led to my sister throwing me out of her home, and to this day she hasn't told me, and maybe that's for the better, because I think I would be so flooded with shame, because I'm sure it was atrocious. And I share this because I'm trying to help you see that we all, with addiction, end up in that dark place. It's not because we're broken. It's because we're human, and that's the byproduct of the conditioning of our mind. And so it's my hope that you can see, that we can all see, that it took practice for us to become addicts. It's going to take practice for us to become recovering addicts. And it's not something that happens overnight. So you have to, be patient and compassionate with yourself and be gentle with yourself. And we'll talk about what compassion is. But I can tell you what it's not. Taking responsibility is not whipping ourselves. It's not beating ourselves up. It's not judging ourselves and telling ourselves that we're terrible human beings. I don't care what we've done. We're not terrible human beings. We're just human beings that need to learn how to recover and learn how to connect to ourselves and to others. And the only way to do that, of course, is through mindfulness practice, which science supports, and we'll talk about that in our next episode. So again, I encourage you to please, make comments down below. Share your story. Share what's going on with you. Let's talk about it. Let's open up with a dialogue. It doesn't matter what you're struggling with. I won't share names or anything like that. I'll just share the questions, and we can explore this process together. So thank you so much. Again, always remember, be gentle with yourself, and I'll see you next week.